Thank you, Minister. Next item on the adjournment is raised by Senator Whelan. Senator Whelan, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you very much, Cathaoirleach. And I too would like to thank the Minister for coming in. And I'm glad to see him here this evening because I know he's a Minister that takes the matters we raise here seriously and will address it to the best of his ability and in fairness. But Minister, AIB Bank, where will we start? You know, they're in state ownership, but certainly not in state control, because it still appears to me that the same people are running AIB, and they're running it in their own image and likeness and doing what they see fit with scant regard for the public interest, for the interest of their loyal and long customers. It's been well rehearsed, Minister. I'm not going to go into it this evening in the time we have, the manner in which they're not dealing with the mortgage problems, the mortgage arrears issue, and the manner in which they're handling that leaves a lot to be desired, to say the least. We also know, regardless of what they say, they're certainly not being supportive of small businesses, and they're certainly not making credit available to small businesses. And now, Minister, as you're aware, to add insult to injury, in 56 towns around the country, we will face the imminent closure of AIB branches, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a further blow to the self-employed and to the small businesses in these communities. Now, I accept that the Minister and the Minister of Finance herself and indeed the government cannot get in there and micromanage every decision and start running AIB. God knows they have enough executives to do that. But at the same time, I mean, we must bring some influence to bear and some common sense and some reason to bear, because one of the banks to be due for closure this very week, Minister, is in the town of Portarlington, which is a population of 8,000 in the current census. So that could not be considered by any stretch of the imagination a small town. In fact, it's one of the fastest growing towns in the country. And also, Minister, it may appear to you on the face of it that I'm coming very late in the day with this issue. But it was not something that I wanted to trouble the Department of Finance and indeed yourself and the Minister with. We did try to exhaust every possible avenue with AIB management at area level, at regional level, and indeed at national level with the Director of Regional Banking. But we were stonewalled at every attempt, even to get the AIB Minister to consider, within reason, without prejudice to the commercial nature of the decisions they're making with the closure and the rationalisation that may be required within its operations, but to get them to consider deferring the decision, to postpone it, even for a matter of weeks until after Christmas, until we could consider the socio-economic impact that the decision would have, or there any other viable alternatives, but in particular, what arrangements were they going to put in place for their long-serving customers? And the reality is, Minister, that we now have a situation where hundreds of businesses are not going to be discommoded only, but they're going to be put at serious risk, Minister, because AIB are contending that An Post will make available the facilities. But as we all know, there are serious limitations and restrictions on the amount of cash that An Post can handle. I'm not happy at all that sufficient and adequate and alternative arrangements have been put in place by AIB with An Post. I don't think they're capable of coping with the additional business. In many of the post offices we're talking about, there's already queues out the door. So I can't understand how anyone's expected to go in and do business there with their business account. And I'll draw to a close now with my primary question, Cathaoirleach, that I am genuinely concerned, and I don't want to move into the area of being alarmist or creating problems that aren't there, but I honestly believe the withdrawal in the town of Portarlington of night safe facilities by AIB and forcing business customers now to have to drive to towns like Portarlington, or to Portlaoise and to Tullamore with cash transactions and so on is going to pose a security risk for these businesses at a time when, to be honest, Minister, the Garda resources in these towns is already stretched to its limit. So I am imploring, if that's what it takes, for the Minister for Finance and for the government to intervene, even at this late juncture, for common sense to prevail and for the safety and security issues of this decision to be put into the melting pot as part of the process, and at least buy a little time until these factors are considered. Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you, Senator.